Well, now that the National Guard is coming, what's next and what does that look like? I do think it's very important to hear from people who crime affects the most. So I want to bring your attention to Marlanda Van, a Memphis mother of 6 kids and a grandmother to 15. She was shot and killed in her car, and police are still trying to find the suspect. Her family members held a balloon release in her honor this week. Here's what they had to say about the National Guard coming to Memphis.
First and foremost, we need to say that the senseless violence in Memphis has to stop, okay? They're talking about the National Guard coming to Memphis helping. That doesn't help. If Governor Bill Lee wants to help, he needs to say we need gun control. People shouldn't be running around here, guns willy-nilly, without training, without basically feeling like they need to be responsible with those. That's first and foremost.
When they leave, how would our city react? Are they gonna go back to their old ways, or they gonna come down here to arrest folks, or what they gonna do? You know, how would the city act or be when the National Guard leave?
Now, something to keep in mind here, the National Guard is only a component of a broader task force comprising 13 departments and agencies, including the Departments of Treasury, Defense, now known as the Department of War, Justice, the U.S. Marshals Service, FBI, and the Drug Enforcement Administration. Local law enforcement will be working with federal counterparts, focus on hyper-vigilant policing, especially in neighborhoods the administration believes to be facing serious issues, aggressive prosecution investigations, and financial enforcement. So that's a little bit more of the breakdown of the plan, but there's still so many more questions here, right? I mean, we heard from that victim's family members of just what will they be able to do, the arrests, how long, I mean, all of these questions. So I'm going to open up to you, Deidre, just hearing from the crime victims' families themselves. What was your take?
My takeaway is that we're just not sure, you know, what's going to happen when they get here and then they leave, right? And so to the first gentleman's point, gun control is an issue. And that's a conversation we need to have at the local level, at the state level, and at the national level. I think there was a gun, an office that was responsible for going into the communities at the national level, at the federal level, and President Trump disbanded that office. And so when you know that this is a major problem across the country, then there should be a focus on it. And it's really a focus, it should be a focus here in Memphis and Shelby County.
Most definitely. And I do want to mention the Daily Memphians reporting this week also had that Mayor Young had said that they're going to be here in about 2 weeks and that National Guard troops won't be able to detain. But that has also been hazy as well. So, Luke, from your understanding, there's multiple agencies here. So the FBI has already been here and they've arrested and detained. So how do you kind of clarify the National Guard troops versus the other agencies that are also going to be in this task force?
Sure. What I'm hearing is that largely the National Guard is going to be doing administrative tasks. So what could that mean? That could mean helping with booking at 201 Poplar to get our law enforcement who are having to wait there back out on the streets to do policing. That could be other administrative tasks, bailiffs, or behind the scenes paperwork. We do know in Washington, D.C., they're doing a lot of administrative tasks to free up other law enforcement like the FBI, ICE, U.S. Marshals to do the actual policing. And I think it's fair to say, look, we want details. So as you know the details, as you have the plan, please release them because it will make people feel more comfortable. Yes. And I challenge our local leaders to let's tone down the rhetoric and ask for a plan and then discuss it once we get it.
Now, we have talked about collaboration. That's been a big word here all week. But one concern I had heard in some reporting was just how we saw the rollout in D.C. It was one plan. They were supposed to be there for 30 days. That was extended. They weren't supposed to be armed, and they were armed. So, Otis, what do you make of still just a plan that hasn't been ironed out yet, and it's right in our face and coming, and what to expect?
Well, the fact that it hadn't been ironed out yet is because this was decided on a spur of the moment, really. Because remember, Governor Lee said 3 weeks ago they're not coming. So he's had to backtrack on that. I agree wholeheartedly with Luke. We need to tone down the rhetoric. I really feel for that family that has lost a loved one to gun violence. But I think that if it's true that the Guard is going to have a lot of administrative tasks, that's a good thing. That will allow police officers to be on the street patrolling. So I like that. But Governor Lee also said to the reporters this week that the Guard men and women who will be here are law enforcement trained. And so they could have police arresting powers. And he said that they could be here for a long term. So we don't know all of that yet. I'm looking for the details as well. But until we get that, let's tone down the rhetoric. And I am talking collaboration here and trying to make this work. And I think the mayor, Mayor Paul Young, has been trying to do that.
Go ahead.
And he continues to do that. I think he's in negotiation because I know he knows what he wants the National Guard to do once they get here. And so my hope is that he's successful in his negotiation.
Do you think we'll see him and Governor Lee have a joint meeting about this on the day one of the National Guard troops and all the other agencies coming to town?
I really hope so.
Yeah.
Remember, I said that last week.
Yeah.
That is important for the governor to come here to Memphis and speak to the citizens of Memphis. And if he can do that with Mayor Young side by side, and they are in lockstep on what the procedures are, especially if they're administrative procedures for the Guard, while the other federal agencies are out there investigating and arresting and fighting the crime. That's the best of all worlds.
Totally agree.
Last point here.
Yeah,
if you want to
totally
hit it.
agree. Right
It'll
on.
definitely be one of those pictures that we'll all remember at this moment in history. All right, thank you all so much for being here. This was a great discussion, and thank you for watching. We hope you'll join us next week for ABC24 This Week.